Straight ahead on 12 News, an Armstrong High School history lesson thanks to a civil rights icon.
For someone that was there and experienced it, it's hard to watch and it's still very painful.
Plus, it's the #1 killer of women, why heart disease is often misdiagnosed. But first, digging into new graduation numbers, what they say about local students.
These numbers aren't numbers to our staff. They're faces, they're names.
12 News starts right now. Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us. New graduation numbers out today show some encouraging signs.
Last year, 81% of high school seniors graduated. That's a slight increase from the year before. Cassie Bonstrom joins us now. And Cassie, it looks like the numbers continue to move in the right direction.
That is right. The state has a goal to have a 90% graduation rate by 2020. And I spoke to one local school that is well on their way to meeting or even exceeding that goal. When John Gardner walks into the classroom, his teachers know he is ready to learn. In fact, he's so motivated to learn that he's already looking past high school.
I'm hoping to go to University of Northwestern for a college.
The Park Center senior admits he wasn't always so motivated, but a look at his grades freshman year made him reevaluate his priorities.
You have like C's or F's. You have to keep pushing and keep pushing and keep pushing to get those grades back up. But you can't do it at the last minute because once that happens, you'll fall hard.
He realized bad grades would prevent him from graduating and ultimately from becoming a psychologist.
That's where my motivation came from, is that graduation is the start of your life, and then you go on to move on to new and better things.
Gardner is just one of the many students at Park Center who will graduate this spring and who will add to the school's improving graduation rate. Minnesota Department of Education numbers released Tuesday show a 14% improvement at Park Center in the past 5 years. What's even more impressive, the graduation rates for Hispanics rose almost 30% in the last year alone.
This is jumping jack stuff. This is great.
Assistant Principal Bart Becker credits the dramatic improvement to dedicated teachers, structured programming, and the students who allow themselves to dream big.
We have kids who battle adversity that I, as a white male from a small town in Montana, never imagined. And our kids persevere through those obstacles to show up here at school every day, giving their very best, knowing they have teachers in the classroom who will meet them where they are and partner with them.
It's an equation that has clearly worked for kids like John. He wants to finish his college degree and take what he's learned to help others around him.
I have to understand that there's a better way, better possibilities.
And while the numbers are promising, the state says there is, of course, still work to do, especially to close the achievement gap. And Mike and Alex, we'll put a link on our website to this really cool website. It's a tool where you can look up your school and find out graduation rates and all sorts of statistics. It's really interesting.
Excellent. Great energy over there at Park
Absolutely.
Center.
Gotta love it.
Cassie.
Thank you, Cassie. A jury has convicted a Brooklyn Center man for a gang shooting outside Target Field. Authorities say James Davis opened fire on 2 men as they were leaving their job at Target Field last April. Davis was found guilty of 2 counts of attempted murder. He will be sentenced next month. Hennepin County prosecutors say the case was made more difficult because one of the men who was shot was a member of a rival gang and did not want to identify Davis on the witness stand.
Charges are pending against 2 suspects who led police on a high-speed chase throughout Maple Grove. It happened following a reported theft at the Guitar Center store on Fountains Drive. A police officer actually saw the suspects exit the store. A chase began that lasted several minutes before police had to end the pursuit. The suspects were arrested when their vehicle crashed at a roundabout near the Champlin border. No one was injured during the chase.
The good news, fewer police officers are dying in the line of duty. The bad news, ambush attacks on police have skyrocketed. At a special training seminar today in Brooklyn Park, the focus was on officer safety. The training comes at a pivotal time. Since Christmas, there have been 9 officer-involved shootings in Hennepin County. That includes the shootings at New Hope City Hall. Sheriff Rich Stanek says one of the most significant risks for law enforcement today is dealing with people who suffer from mental illness.
You see this each and every time. A number of the shootings where officers and deputies and troopers have been involved with over the last several months have been because someone suffers from treated or untreated mental illness. And unfortunately, they did not receive the help that they needed to get back on track.
Today's training focused on techniques to defuse tense situations. It also may serve as a reality check for those who protect and serve.
During my career, I investigated officer-involved shootings, and many times I heard from the officers involved that I never thought that it would happen to me. Part of this training is letting them know that it can happen to them and sharing with them some of the resources and things.
Former State Trooper Bob Bushman did say law enforcement officers are better trained and equipped than they have ever been before.
A local lawmaker hopes to save young families a few dollars by making car safety seats exempt from state sales taxes. Lyndon Carlson of Crystal took his legislation to a House Committee on Taxes today. Under state law, kids have to be in a car or booster seat until they're 8 years old or are 4 feet 9 inches tall. Carlson says it's fairly common for car seats to cost more than $100, and he says for some families that cost can add up.
Pointed out, well, there are families that have to have more than one car seat, and you might have to have 2 or maybe even 3 if your children are young, and then the multiplier effect, that can become pretty expensive. So right from the get-go, if you get a good car seat, you're probably talking easily $600.
The bill to make car seats tax exempt will be considered later in a larger tax bill.
Anoka-Hennepin schools now have a new school board member. Nicole Hayes was sworn in Monday night. The Brooklyn Park resident has 2 children and both attend Anoka-Hennepin schools. Hayes replaces longtime board member Scott Wenzel, who passed away last fall. She will serve on the school board for the remainder of the calendar year. An election in November will decide who fills the seat for the 4 years after that. Well, she was on the front line of the civil rights movement and an eyewitness to history.
Bettie Fikes is in the Twin Cities this week, and as Eric Nelson reports, she gave students at Armstrong High School a powerful lesson.
No one knew we were making history. We were just trying to correct the wrong. May I use your mind?
She's known as the voice of Selma and is a civil rights treasure.
Because we knew what we were fighting 50 years ago.
Bettie Fikes was at Armstrong High to share her story about overcoming oppressive racism in Alabama.
We didn't think that someone would turn fire hose on us, or to dogs, or to lock us up. And as a young girl,
it's been an opportunity to learn, a living artifact of the most revolutionary act in American democracy, and that's the civil rights movement.
Fikes was 14 when she joined the Selma movement to end segregation in the 1960s.
One says colored and the other says white.
And fought to give African Americans the right to vote.
Blood was shed just for people to have the right to vote.
Those were turbulent times in the heart of Dixie as hatred boiled over.
Another man done gone.
Fikes was locked up for over 4 weeks.
The reason I stayed in jail for so long because I would not say yes, sir, and no, sir, to Judge Rones.
The march fostered the Oscar-nominated movie Selma, but Fikes can't look at that footage because of painful flashbacks.
Seldom I watch any of the documentaries because it's too fresh and it opens up too many wounds.
Fikes has seen amazing change since then, but knows racism is far from gone.
We're still fighting the same fight over and over again. That I cannot understand.
Fikes also believes that African American problems aren't just caused by whites.
As they say, the white man turned the dogs on us 50 years ago. Now we've turned the dogs on each other, and I find that hard to understand. If dogs can get along, all different colors, why can't we?
In Robbinsdale, I'm Eric Nelson, Channel 12 News.
Next month, a group of Armstrong students will go where Fikes has been. They'll visit historical civil rights spots in the South, including Selma. Coming up, living with heart disease. It's a story that may help save someone's life.
Then later in sports, a look ahead to the start of the high school boys basketball section playoffs.
But first, turning chilly once again. Wednesday morning will be a cold slap in the face. Heart disease is the #1 killer of women, and experts say women sometimes have different symptoms than men, so they're often misdiagnosed.
In today's Health Check, Delane Cleveland introduces us to a woman living with heart disease.
I just ate right, exercised, and was always told I was healthy.
42-year-old Elizabeth Smith is a wife and a mother of 3.
We traveled, I swam every day in the summer, we biked, took walks.
She also directed a vibrant church choir in Eden Prairie.
There's never a day when they didn't make you smile or laugh, and the joy of seeing their faces sing.
But 2.5 years ago, she started experiencing chest pain and shortness of breath. Doctors diagnosed her with asthma. Then she found out a year later that it wasn't asthma at all.
And ended up going to Mayo Clinic for a specific diagnosis of microvascular disease and endothelial dysfunction.
In layman's terms, when she exercises, her blood vessels won't open to let blood and oxygen flow.
It's a daily battle, and it's frustrating because you look so normal.
She's since had to quit her job. Yet despite her symptoms, she's become an advocate for the American Heart Association to let other women know about the dangers of heart disease and being misdiagnosed.
Women can die of heart disease, and your doctors may not look for that.
Meanwhile, science is offering hope for Elizabeth and others like her.
It's really a pleasure to be here this morning.
Tuesday morning at the University of Minnesota, a group of researchers gathered to network and learn about innovative ways to advance treatments for cardiovascular diseases and stroke.
It's just really important that we keep moving treatments forward, we keep doing the research so that we can find, new treatments, ways to intervene and save more lives every year.
It's events like this that give Elizabeth optimism for the future.
I should be able to live a full life. It's just a changed life, and hoping that they'll come up with the right cocktail, as it is, to make it work.
For Health Check, Delane Cleveland, 12 News.
Coming up, an exciting time for 2 local teachers. They are semifinalists for Teacher of the Year.
But first, playoff fever in boys basketball. John Jacobson explains why Armstrong feels playoff ready when we come back.
Though they had some stumbles later in the season, it's been a strong campaign for the Armstrong boys basketball team. As Jay Wilcox reports, the Falcons are eager to get the playoffs started.
Burns off underneath the Bettie Williams to close the half.
With a 20-6 record, Armstrong has to be one of the best 5th seeds in any section. They did go 4-4 in their last 8 games, with 3 of the losses close ones to strong teams Maple Grove, Minnetonka, and Minneapolis North, plus a blowout loss to De La Salle. Losing is no fun, but playing those teams will help.
I mean, we had a couple close losses that we probably could have won, but it happens. I mean, they're good teams. It's not like we're losing to really bad teams.
One thing the Falcons are working on, closing out games. They had leads on top-ranked Champlain Park and Maple Grove, but couldn't finish them off.
Because we always have teams normally in the first half, but in the second half we just don't finish. So normally we've just been practicing and practice how to finish games, and 3 minutes left and make smart decisions.
With a section that includes Eden Prairie, Hopkins, Minnetonka, and Edina as the top 4, Armstrong coach Greg Miller says it's a prime example of why many coaches would like to see a format change for the playoffs that wouldn't lump so many good teams in one bracket.
That's why the 64-team tournament is really wanted by a lot of teams in the Metro. Of course, if you play in a weaker section, you probably don't want that, but I think most of the coaches in 4A do want that, and we've said that we recommend it. So we're, this year we can't do anything about that, and we feel like we have just as good a chance as anybody else in this section.
Wednesday night, the Falcons meet former Classic Lake rival Edina in the section quarterfinals.
Edina, they run Michigan offense. They have a former assistant coach to Beeline on their team who's their assistant coach, Coach Hopkins. And so they run about 10 different, kind of tricky sets, and they can really shoot the ball.
They're a good team. They got a lot of good players, and we got a lot of good players, so it's just going to be whoever hustles the most.
We'll find out soon if Armstrong has what it takes to make a playoff run. Jay Wilcox, 12 Sports.
5th seed Armstrong takes on 4th seed Edina Wednesday night at the Edina Community Center. Like Armstrong, all of our local boys basketball teams are getting set for that first playoff game. Here's a look at the 2 local Class 4A sections. In Section 5, unbeaten and top-ranked Champlain Park is the #1 seed. Maple Grove is seeded 2nd with Wayzata 3rd. Centennial is the 4th seed, and Osseo is seeded 5th. Then it's Park Center, Irondale, and Cooper. The quarterfinals are Thursday night with Champlin Park hosting Cooper. Maple Grove faces Irondale at Osseo Junior High. Wayzata hosts Park Center, and Osseo travels to Centennial. The semifinals are next Tuesday, split between the two highest seeds. The section final is on March 6th at Rogers High School. In Section 6 4A, Eden Prairie is the top seed. Hopkins is the second-seeded team. Minnetonka is third with Edina fourth and Armstrong fifth. The quarterfinals are Wednesday. As you saw a moment ago, Armstrong meets Edina at the Edina Community Center, while Hopkins is home to play St. Louis Park. The semifinals are Saturday, likely at Eden Prairie with games at 1 and 3. The Section 6 final is next Wednesday at Cooper High School. Among the other local schools, high seeds include Breck in 5AA. The Mustangs are the #1 seed in the South subsection. Brooklyn Center is seeded 4th there. Maranatha Christian Academy is the #2 seed in Section 4A behind Minneapolis North. Wayzata's boys hockey team was eliminated from the Section 6AA tournament on Saturday. On this week's Sports Jam show on Channel 12, Jay Wilcox profiles Trojan standout Max Zimmer. Here's part of that story.
Max, or Zim as his teammates call him, tied for the team lead in scoring during the regular season with 28 points on 8 goals and 20 assists.
He's had a good year. He had some injuries early on in the season. Quite a bit of pressure put on him this year and stuff like that, being one of the top players around. But he's gotten so much better over the last month, and you can tell in practice he's got a high energy and he's making everybody else around him better. So,
though he's a junior at Zimmer's 3rd year on the Wayzata varsity. Making the lineup as a freshman doesn't happen that often in a top-flight program, but he fit in well even as a 9th grader. Setting a good example is something he's learned to do.
I think the biggest thing is just to, be a leader on and off the ice. And, looking back when I was a freshman, I was kind of the young guy on the team, and I looked up to all the older kids. Now I'm in that role, and I kind of need to step in and show the younger guys what they need to do and how to be successful.
Watch the rest of that story and more this week on Sports Jam. It's on through Wednesday at 3:30, 6:30, and 9:30 p.m. on Channel 12 and 12.tv. Coming up Wednesday starting at 4, highlights from Breck Blake, Section Boys Hockey, and more.
All right, thanks a lot, John. Coming up, one of the most prestigious honors a teacher can get.
See which 2 local teachers are in the running when we come back.
And finally, the list is getting shorter, but 2 teachers from the Northwest Metro are still in the running for Minnesota's Teacher of the Year.
The list of candidates is down to 30 teachers across the state. They include Ann St. Clair from the Robbinsdale School District and Ashley Cardona from Wayzata. St. Clair teaches English language at Sonneson Elementary, and Cardona is an English and communications teacher at Wayzata High School. The winner will be announced on May 3rd. So good luck to both of them.
Very exciting,
yeah.
Yes.
That's it for now. Thanks for joining us, everyone.
We'll see you back here tomorrow at 4. Community Corner is coming up next.